Neewer just sent me their FS150B, and I was curious to see how big of an upgrade this would be compared to the Xeon Molus X100 that I've been using for the past couple of years. Now, these aren't exactly the same type of lights. The Molus X100 has been incredible for traveling because it's so tiny, but the output has always been a little bit of a limiting factor, especially if I'm trying to shoot scenes where there's windows in the background. That's not to say that it's not possible to use it for that, because I have, but the FS150B should be quite a significant upgrade in terms of the output of light. Now, the Molus X100 is a 100-watt light, and the FS150B is a 130-watt light. So I actually thought that was where the main difference would lie, but apparently lux or lumen also play a big factor in this, and when you measure those two, and I'll put them up on the screen, there's quite a significant difference. So yesterday I set out to test out these two lights to see which could give me the better output. Now, today is a bit more of an overcast day, and I'm actually using the Neewer light to light this scene in itself, so you can see what that looks like. But if we're having a scene that's completely backlit with no light facing me, what would the difference actually be? Here is kind of a comparison of what it would look like if you're not using any lights at all. And this is not a typical situation that you would use with no light, so bear that in mind. But if we go on the lower scale where we don't want anything to clip, so we are exposing for the bright highlights outside, you will see that I am completely in a silhouette. And on the other hand of the scale, if we're trying to expose so that you can actually see me, and I haven't upped the ISO for any of this, I've just removed the ND filter, you can see that the outside is completely blown out. And if I was to go with any of the two, I'll probably go with the one where I'm in a silhouette, but it doesn't really make any sense either way. So this is one of the situations where we definitely need a light, and it's one of those where we need one of the more powerful lights because we need to power or overpower the sun that's coming from the outside. Again, this is not a situation that I have that often, but I do have scenes that I want to film where the background is a window, and that is the tough situation that we're going to try to battle today. This is not a scientific test. I'm not going to measure the output or the lighting or the color accuracy or anything in that matter. I'm just simply trying to compare the two lights that I have to see how much of a difference it makes. And since I was going to do the test anyway, I thought I might as well just bring you along with me. So first up, we are not going to change any of the settings until the very end. But other than that, the settings stay completely the same. I'm not touching the camera other than pressing record. I'm only changing the lights. So in this first test, we have the Molus X100 set to 100%. Now, one asterisk with this is that I don't have the original power adapter anymore for this light. So I've been powering this light with USB-C, which, as far as I know, still gives the full output. I'm not 100% sure, but it's still been working incredibly fine, aside from the fact that my adapter keeps overheating. So this is one of the reasons why I'm very excited about the Neewer that has a power adapter plugged in. But bear in mind, the Molus X100 could do the same. It's just my scenario that makes it so that I can't do that. So those things aside, Molus X100 set to 100%. This is what it looks like when we are completely backlit otherwise. And I think it's doing a decent job. Now, this is not a fully sunny day, so it is a little bit overcast as well, and you won't get the full brightness of the sun, so we can't compare it fully to that. But I'm living in Europe now, and this is honestly the case a lot of the time. So if I'm filming a scene where I have the windows in the background, I'll probably try to choose a day where it's overcast anyway. So I think it's doing a decent job, but it is on the darker side. And here's a comparison between when I didn't add a color grade on it and when I did. The only other thing that I've done is do a little bit of color adjustments and add a Rec. 709 color conversion from the log footage that I shot it in. So you can see it's quite a big comparison, but because I'm shooting in the ZV-1, we still have a lot of flexibility. I shot in log and in a larger color space, so that helps a lot with this. But it's still on the darker side, and we do have to push it a little bit, so I would love to bring it up and be able to shoot it a little bit better. So this is when we switch to the Neewer FS150B, and there will be a review coming later, probably one of the next videos on this channel. So this is just me comparing and testing out the lights to begin with. Now, we started out setting the light to 70%, just because I wanted to test if the output was actually that much more, and I didn't need to go all the way up to 100%. And when we compare side by side with the Molus X100, you'll see that it is on the darker side actually at 70%, which surprised me because when I looked at the lux difference, there was quite a big difference in that. And what those numbers mean, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'm not a lighting expert, so this is also me just trying to understand the differences between those. The only thing that I do understand is that the lux reading is with the reflector on at 1 meter distance on a square meter surface. That's how it's measured. So it might have a difference in the size of the light, the size of the reflector as well, since the Molus X100 is significantly smaller light. So however the output is supposed to be read in those terms, I'm not entirely sure, but I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't more of a difference with this. Now, let's turn the Neewer up to 100%, and now we are starting to see quite a big difference. You can see that I am a lot brighter now. We still need to do a tweak with the color grade. So here's the before and here's the after, but I think it looks quite a lot better. For the last test, I went back to the camera and I adjusted the ND filter a little bit just to make sure that the sky was still not clipping, but letting a little bit more light in, as I had brought it down a little bit more to make sure that I had room for the sky to change and the lighting to change outside. But now I wanted to push it to the limit and see if letting that extra light in brought up the balance to really give me the output that I was looking for. And it did make a difference, but we're still not at the point where the light is completely overpowering the outside. And bear in mind, again, this is a bit of an overcast day. So I would need a stronger light, a more powerful light, if I were to shoot this scenario specifically. But this is a rare case scenario for me that I would be shooting like this. I would be much more likely to shoot in a scenario that I'm doing right now, where I'm using both the light coming from outside to light me and the light as an extra source to light me up. And this works perfect. This is giving me the output that I need to give the scene, to give me the amount of contrast that I want. And I think this works pretty damn well. So in the edge scenario, where we're shooting directly towards a brighter source, being the outside in this case, the light might not be entirely powerful enough, but it is a 130 watt light, so I did not expect it to be powerful enough, to be honest, but I was curious. And in a scenario like this, for an interview or for something where we want some window, but we can use it to light us as well, I think it works pretty good. So I'm happy. It works a lot better for the needs that I have, and I still have the other lights that I can use for support if I need to. So the only difference now is that I only have one softbox, so I will need to get another one at some point, but it's a significant upgrade. And again, my needs have changed. I changed from traveling and needing to put the lights in a suitcase, where the Molus X100 was perfect, to now being in an apartment and being able to carry more gear around if I do need to go out to a client shoot as well. And for that, a more studio friendly or a more studio purposed light just makes a lot more sense. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was just me testing out a little bit what the difference would be between the lights that I have. And I know it's not a completely fair comparison, but I was curious to see how much this light could do. So a full review is coming, where I'm gonna go more in depth with some different scenarios and trying out the light to light different scenes to see what we can do with it, to give you more of a real life example, real life test of what the light can actually do and what we might be able to do for you as well. But I have left a link to the Neewer light in the description below if you're interested in checking it out already. They did send me the light. They're not paying me anything. That's probably important to say as well. I should have mentioned that in the beginning, but I didn't. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And other than that, I'll just see you in the next video. And until then,